I'm sorry to say, but section 4.6 is going to take a while. It's a really good section. It's very practical for you, but in order for me to explain it, it's going to take a while. It won't take you quite as long to do the problems once you actually understand them. So this is the magic percent formula. If we add the words increase or decrease to our word problem, that automatically changes our formula. So as soon as you see some question about percent increase or percent decrease, that's when you have to use this new formula. This is our percent increase or decrease formula right here. Yes, that really does say new. Yes, that really does say old. So new minus old divided by old has to equal our percent over 100. And the reason that is because we're saying new minus old is the change of increase or decrease. Sometimes, every once in a while, you might come across a question that says, what is the change? Well, the change is going to be when you subtract the two of them, but you have to make sure that new is always in front of the old. It's not just the biggest one on top anymore. It's the new value has to go in front of the old value to get your amount of increase or decrease, which is why up here it's new minus old over old. Always make sure you put the new first. My students shortcut it by calling it n minus o over o. So they put n's and o's in those places instead of writing it all out. Okay, so this is problem number 13 on page 158. And I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to actually write it down. So you don't have to write it down off of here. You can get it out of your book. It says the exact same thing. But I need you to actually have it written down so you can get where I'm kind of pulling these words from. And I don't have much room down here. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this stuff over here while you write that down and rewrite this up here so that we can use it. Okay. The question says, over the past 5 years, the population of Chowan increased by 1,084 people. The earlier population was 9,785. By what percent has Chowan's population increased? The first thing you need to always do is find your old and find your new. So my old population is the oldest one we had. The oldest one we had was our earlier population, not the one that's now, but the one that was earlier. So that's our old one, and it said that that one was 9,785, which makes our new population 9,785, and they said that it increased by that much. So that's going to be plus my 1084, which tells me that that's going to be 9, 6, carry my 1, 8, 10,869 is my new population. Pretty good increase for a little town. Now that I have my old and my new, I can come over to my formula. Now I can go in here and put in my new minus my old. We said new was 10,869 minus the old is 9,785 divided by my old, which is 9,785. And they wanted to know by what percent has increased So that means they were looking for my percent over 100. Now, when you do this, I know you get 1,084. Don't have to grab a calculator or anything for that. Do you know how I know that? Well, they told me in my problem that that was the difference, that it had increased by that much, which means that was the amount of change, which is why it goes on top. They said that's what it was, that's what it's going to be. But if you go ahead and subtract, it's the same thing. I mean, it's the opposite of adding, and you're going to end up with the same number that you added to it, which is the 1084. So now your question should be, does that mean that I have to go through the steps of finding the new and the old and the blah, blah, blah? Yes. Always find your old and your new, because you're not sure what the question is going to ask. So whenever they have a percent increase or decrease, always label your old and your new. It's just like when we did the consecutive integer problems, I always made you have a larger and a smaller, or a first number and a second number. With word problems, you need to try to label as much as you can so you can get a clear picture about what's going on. So once you get here, we have a fraction equal to a fraction, which means we can cross multiply just like we did yesterday. Get 1084 times 100 is equal to 9785 times x. $10,8400 equals 9785x. Divide both sides by the 9785. Now I gotta grab a calculator. 10,8400 divided by 9785 is 11.078180, so forth and so on. So that is 11% increase. You can't see what I just wrote, so I'm going to have to write it again over here. That is 11% increase. Now there's a reason I bring this up. If we had gotten a negative number on top, which is possible to do, if there's ever a decrease, this will end up being negative, which means this over here has to end up being negative. When that happens, that means that your percent is going to end up being negative. If your percent is ever negative, that means that it's a decrease. It doesn't mean that you write the negative in front, it just means that you write percent decrease, because that's how much it went down. That's what the little negative sign tells you, is that it went down instead of it going up, because we're talking about change and stuff. So a negative means you write percent decrease. A positive, like this one, means that you write percent increase. The next problem we're going to do is problem number 29. So you can look in your book and go ahead and write down problem number 29 in your notes. It's on page 159 probably. Because if I gotta write it down, you gotta write it down. Number 29. The number of students who signed up for a museum tour is 19% more than the number that went last year. If 88 planned to go this year, how many went last year? So they used the word increase. Actually, they didn't. They just said that it was 19% more. But that's an increase. And we're working on increase and decrease. So you know they've got to use that formula. So, they said the number of students who signed up for a museum tour is 19% more than the number that went last year. If 88 planned to go this year, how many went last year? So I told you the first thing you need to do is figure out what your old number is and what your new number is. Try it. Let's see if you can tell what the old number is and what the new number is. So we're talking about two different years. We have last year, and then we have this year. Which one of those is old, last year or this year? Last year is old, which makes this year the new number. This year, it says 88 plan on going. So my new must be 88. We don't know what my old is. So right now, it's X. Which means in my formula, I'm going to end up with 88 minus X over X is equal to, my percent is 19 over 100. So the math is really easy. It's getting it into the formula that's the hard part. We can't do 88 minus X. So since I can't do 88 minus X, I'm going to go ahead and have to cross multiply here. Which means I'm going to have 100 times 88 minus X. And I got to put parentheses around it so I make sure it gets multiplied by the whole piece. Equals the 19 times the X. Now I can distribute here. So that's going to give me 8,800 minus 100x. I'm running out of room. I'll write it neater. And over here I still have my 19x. Well, now what do I need to do? Now I got x's on both sides. So we learned that means that I have to subtract 19x from both sides. Which gives me 8,800 minus 119x is equal to 0, because that's what's left over there. And then I have to subtract the 8,800 from both sides. I'll finish it over here. Which means on this side I'm left with negative 119x is equal to negative 8,800. Now I need to divide both sides by 119x. Well, 119. So we get x is equal to 73.949. You can't have 0.9 of a person. But 0.9 of a person means it's probably going to be 74. So x must be 74. Which means what? Well, if we don't know, then we need to go back and look and see what they asked you for. It says if 88 planned to go this year, how many went last year? And we said old was our last year, so 74 people went last year. Now, a small point to make to save you some time. The reason I had you write down the problems was so when you go back in your notes, you can tell where you got stuff from. It's not because I want you to write down the problems every time you do a problem. That's not the case. In fact, I don't want you to have to write down the problems every time you do a problem. So since you're writing what number it is, we know you're looking in the book and the problem's right there. But when you go to write notes, you need to make sure you have the problem written down in your notes. When you go back and look, you don't have to know what page it was in the book and go find it too. It's all right there for you. For most of the word problems that you have in this chapter, I've gone ahead and made sure you had those problems written in your notes because you have them on the piece of paper that you cut out and everything. But for this particular section, I didn't have it part of the PowerPoint, so I didn't have it written down that way, so we had to go ahead and handwrite it in. Don't handwrite the problems in on your classwork or your homework unless you just want to. There is no need for you to have it there. For us, we're happy just to see that you got some work there. You're the one that has to make sure you got the right answer, and if you have a question, I'll go back and I can look in the book and find out what the problem was. And that could be where your mistake lies. But, comma, most of the people, if they're going to make a mistake in between copying things down, it's going to be when they copy it from the book onto their piece of paper. It's not really going to be in their calculation. So it's just the actual copying that usually messes people up. So there's no need for you to copy these word problems down. It's not going to help you. It's not going to hurt you. I'm just saying save your time. So there's that and the explanation for that. And homework. And classwork. Classwork is actually on page 157. Numbers 1 through 5, odd, and the practice exercises. And then the homework is on page 158 and 159. Numbers 11, 21, and 28. Now I know what you're saying. Wait a minute. Number 28 is not in the back of the book. Well, that just means that's one that I have to do in the classwork. So it'll be answered in the classwork for you. Okay? I will see you. No, you will see me tomorrow. Well, actually, technically, you won't see me tomorrow, but we'll talk tomorrow.